Good evening, and thank you so much for joining us on A World Awakening tonight. No one I know personifies the title of this show better than Mr. Stephen Bassett. Not only is he a visionary, just a brilliant man, but he is, more importantly to me, dedicated to what he does. And I know that feeling because so am I. So in that way, we're kindred spirits. And without further ado, please welcome Stephen Bassett back to A World Awakening. Steve, it's so...
How are you, dear?
I'm doing incredibly well, actually.
You look good. You look good.
Amazingly well. You know, I mean, when you take chemo pills every morning that are the size of something that could choke a horse, and your body processes them like vitamins, I would say I'm the luckiest woman on planet Earth right now.
They get better and better at that. I hope they continue to get better because you never know when your time comes. So good luck, and I'm sure it's going to work out fine.
I believe that too. I do. But you've been staying right on top of everything that's happening in the search for extraterrestrial life. I don't think we have to search. I think they're here. In fact, I kind of know they are. Yeah. It's been a very interesting couple of years. And I think that what you talked about the last time you were on the show about disclosure is now. This is the paradigm shift. We had that whole discussion, and this is it. And so I know that you were in the congressional hearing, and I want to open the floor and just give you all the time that you want to discuss your impressions, what you think was gained, what opportunities you might feel were missed. But it's the floor is yours, Steve.
I'll give a summary here. We can chat about this and that, whatever. There was a hearing in 1966 and 1968. They were not significant. I said the people that testified were good people. They were important. I don't even know if there was a public audience for either of those. The first one was instigated by Gerald Ford, a good man who was trying to respond to the Michigan sightings. The second one was a little trickier, but I have a feeling it was tied into sort of a wrap up, like we're going to show the flag here. Hey, we did a hearing, but by the way, in a year, we're going to shut everything down. Blue book, nightcap, the whole 9 yards.
Right.
Then it was 55 years before we had another hearing. Mm-hmm. That's a long time. Yeah. The ETs didn't go away. No. The phenomena remained. The research continued. The books were written. The docs were made, and just keep going. But no hearing. The Congress essentially said, we're not going to go there. The universities had already made that quite clear. We're not going to go there. Yep. And Congress said the same thing. There's always an excuse, always something happening. You can blame it on. Yeah. 55 years go by, and finally, we get a hearing in 2023. And of course, it wasn't like that just popped up out of nowhere. Essentially, the way to sum up what's happening is that we are in the end game of a very intense chess game that's been going on all this time. Yeah. It's us against the military intelligence complex. And the fact is that they're losing. And we're in that final end game where you might be 5, 6, 7 moves away from checkmate. So it starts in October and December of 2017. To the Stars Academy comes forward. 10 people put their name and bio up. A video was taken introducing the organization. The key speakers were Elizondo and Mellon and the leader of the group, Tom DeLong. And I think Putoff, possibly Justice, were there. Fine. A video site was launched. I noticed it. I heard something was in the works, didn't know what it was. I was in England at the time, but boy, I said, oh my God, I need to get back to the US because the game has started and I'm not on the field, right? It took me 3 months to
suit up.
To get back. Anyway, But meanwhile, I'm watching what's going to happen. And what happened, of course, is that they had already planned their next move, and that was to take some very important information to the New York Times, get a major story. As far as I'm concerned, it was the most important story published to that point.
Mm-hmm.
It was the Reed effort, the funding, the OSAP program, Bigelow, the gun camera footage, the pilots, all of that.
Right.
Published in 2 successive issues. I think one was Under the Fold. I think the second one may have been as well. But all of it was put up on the website.
Mm-hmm.
And it was put up with the gun camera footage because you can do that now. You couldn't do that 60 years ago. Now you can do it. And that gun camera footage was major.
Yeah, the Nimitz footage.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, there were several.
There were several, yes.
Not just Nimitz, but the Tic Tac was Nimitz. And why is that important? Because in a modern era, which is where we were in 2023, you put up videos like that. Yeah. They are copied, recopied, redistributed, put on social media, by regular media. There is no way to know how many people or how many views of those gun camera footages have taken place since 2017. Mm-hmm. But it could easily be 1 billion views.
Oh, sure.
And of course, you can easily find them even now. And so what happened is they, among other things, they dropped a visual representation of this issue into the world of social media and allowed 1 billion people to see it. Compare that to 1947. They put out a press release. It turned up in some papers. It was picked up, I think, by AP. I don't think the TV even got to it. And then it was shut down. Boom. That was 47. This is 2023. And so essentially the end game begins right there. And it's a question of how many years and how many moves it's going to take to checkmate the government and end the truth embargo. Now, there's the game that we're playing, which is important. But then there is the circumstances in which the game is being played. Like, for instance, if you're playing a very intense game of chess and there's an earthquake, that's definitely going to disrupt the play.
Sure.
Or, I don't know, a hurricane blows in, or the cats and the dogs start fighting, whatever. Anything around that game, anything that's affecting the game is affecting the play. It can delay it. And that's been very, very much the case. In these 7 years, my Lord, the article comes out in December of 2017. Things clearly are getting interesting. You're getting some news coverage. The next year, not major developments, but clearly what this has just happened is being digested. There's a lot of debate and discussion, and the skeptics are talking. I'm following the news coverage, which was pretty good. And that goes into late 2018. Mm-hmm. And I'm relatively happy. I get set up in Washington, D.C. In late 2019. Again, I'd already been here, but I took a hiatus, but I came back, got into the press building. And so I'm very optimistic. I have plans. I'm looking ahead. And you know what they say about what God says about making plans.
Yep. And
then boom, out of nowhere comes the worst pandemic in human history in terms of the scope, the breadth, the disruption, the economic impact, you name it. It upset apple carts all over the world. It was a disaster. The total cost is really unknown, but it was vast. And it didn't just come and go. It's still with this, at least the latent aspects, but it went on for 2 fierce years. So that starts in very late 2019.
Yes.
So we're dealing with that, trying to advance the disclosure issue, trying to do what we have to do. But obviously, this is center stage. And then things start to come together again in 2020. I go to Hollywood, looks like the possibility of making a film, all excited and so forth. And then a war breaks out in Europe, the worst in some time, a nasty one. And it's just filled with intimations of nuclear use.
Yep.
And I'm going, who needed this? Meanwhile, the pandemic comes back a second, a third, a fourth time. That's going on. The political arena in the United States is literally turned into a giant circus, 5 rings. No one can keep up with it. There's dancing elephants and acrobats and people doing magic tricks.
There's clowns.
Without getting partisan, I'm saying it was a circus. And so that's not helpful, right? And so we're having to deal with that. The war in Ukraine, the extraordinary political developments, and yet the issue continued to advance. All right,
It did.
Because most of the moves being made during those very difficult times were being made behind the scenes, as they should be. They were being made up on Capitol Hill. And what I mean by that, and it was appropriate. And fortunately for us, the timing was that. In other words, what needed to be done during that very time of tumult was for people up on the Hill who are working in Congress, staff as well as elected officials, needed to meet privately with witnesses. They needed to meet privately with researchers and get up to speed without having to have the spotlight on them. And the nearest I can tell, the leader of that parade was Christopher Mellon. The background he had was perfect for it. Others, I think, were participating. How many people went up to Capitol Hill and sat down in front of a member of Congress or staffer? I don't know. I think it would be a surprising number. How many actual meetings took place? Probably very large. And so essentially, while everything is crazy outside, inside, a substantial number of people of Congress are starting to be taught. They're being educated. There's a learning curve going on as they get into this issue and get briefed, not by reading somebody's book, by getting people that know talking to them. And this goes on for about 2 years. Well, let me see. It doesn't go on for 2 years. It's like it starts in, I think, 19, right, which is just before the pandemic. It's already underway. I think in 2019, and then even as things really get very dramatic it continues, because the pandemic really wouldn't have stopped it. Goes on through all of 19 into 2020. All this is taking place, and it finally brings a result, okay, which we'll call a move in the chess game, a major move in the chess game, right? A move from us.
Yes.
And that is the chairman of the Intelligence Committee, a committee that was absolutely briefed many times, I'm sure, makes a decision to act by putting some modest legislation into a bill, not the National Defense Authorization Act, but the $2 trillion COVID relief bill, which is like, nobody's going to hold that up, right? Nobody's holding up the COVID bill.
Nobody's going to stop its momentum now.
Slipped it in there, right? And it was not much, but it very cleverly, also another move in the chess game, included not a request, an assistance that the Pentagon would come back with a report to the Intel Committee by, I think it was June 25 of the next year. Now, that's in the legislation that gets announced in July, but it's not signed into law and goes in effect until December, when it's signed, I think December 23, by Joseph Biden. So him signing that act is another move in the chess game. That launches the time frame on that report that they expect on June 25, as well as a classified report. And if you want to get the press paying attention to you, let them know that something important is going to happen on a specific date. Oh, they love that.
They do.
So they got a target, they got a date, they can talk about it's coming, it's this and that. And so a lot of press came in. Marco Rubio got a lot of very favorable press and praise for making this very important move. The study comes down, or the report is issued in 2025. The public report is quite modest. We do not know what the private report was, but I'm going to assume it was far more insignificant than the public report. And that's around June. It's June 25. All is good. Again, so we're making some moves, right? It's 2020. All right. But I mean, I'm sorry. It is 2021. We're still suffering from the pandemic, Lord knows, and the war is getting about to start. But nevertheless, what happens? The Senate Intel Committee, now run by, chaired by another person, Warner, a Democrat, makes its move again. They make their move. And then he assigns that to Gillibrand. Gillibrand submits the next piece of legislation in around July of 2021. And I've always said, why not Warner? Why didn't he step in? Because Rubio was the chair of the Republican Intel Committee, and now Mark is the chair. And so you would think, even Stephen, right? He would do it, but he didn't. He passed it on to Gillibrand. Why? I would love to ask him. By the strangest coincidence, one of the most major coincidences of my life, frankly, I was having an outdoor lunch on Pennsylvania Avenue the other day. I'm sitting there, and the person I'm with just says, "I think there's somebody famous behind you." And I, you just don't turn around. I kind of turned around. I said, "Yeah, well, whatever." Then she holds up her phone and says, "This is who it is." Who is it? It's Mark Warner. is sitting behind me 1.5 feet from my chair. Now, the odds of this are staggering. Okay. And I'm thinking, this is a message from Providence. This is, now there's a lot of ways you can handle a situation like that. Most of them are not good, but I've been around. And so I simply turned around. I said, excuse me, Senator, I noticed you're here. I've been involved in the UAP issue for a very long time. This is my card. If I can be of any help, please call. He was very polite. Thank you, so forth. I turned back around, never talked to him again. On his way out, he acknowledged me on the way out. Very nice. So maybe that was a sign. But in any event, Warner passed it to Gillibrand. Why was she the second person to sponsor the second piece of legislation on this issue in history? Because Rubio had run for president and she had run for president. And Mark had not. And so he's basically balancing one presidential candidate out with another. And so she puts together the next piece of legislation, which is a move in the chess game, signed in the end of that year, all right, by Donald Trump. And we move forward, right? So now things are starting to pick up. As we move into 2021, that bill gets signed, and we're talking about the 2022, basically, NDAA. And a lot is happening, a huge amount of news coverage and so forth. So we then move into the next year, and we get the third tranche of legislation sponsored by Warner. He finally steps in. So this is in 2022. A bill comes out in July to be signed in December of 2022 for the NDA of 2023. And this is a pretty broad bill. It's a substantial bill. It gets into some witness protection programs, setting up some projects, things like that. It's a pretty good piece of legislation. The third in history. That gets signed in December, and we move into 2023. So as you say, the game is being played. We had a bit of a lull, but we weren't set back too much because what needed to be done was behind the scenes with masks on, I assume, right? Mm-hmm. And so we're coming out of the pandemic. We go into 2023, and then the game gets really intense. Okay, very, very intense, because something was going on in that first half of the year, which I didn't know about. None of the people I work with knew about, but a gentleman who had become unhappy with his circumstances decided to go public. And we didn't find out about it until June the 5th. I was at the Contact in the Desert conference. It occurred the final day on Monday, and everybody was running around because they had heard or seen a debrief article that dropped by Blumenthal and Kane, and also heard there was going to be an interview with Ross Coulthart, and it was David Grush. Yes. And apparently he was going to reveal and confirm that we had a non-human body, a USAP. Mm-hmm. And then he had secondhand confirmation from very strong sources, reconfirmed by other sources. This is like the biggest story so far that I'm aware of, really, since Roswell. But that story didn't go anywhere, so it didn't matter. This was going to go around the world, and so we're all running around. Yeah. And I go read the article, and then a couple of hundred of us gathered in one of the rooms there at the Indian Wells Resort, which was set up for the conference, of course, and we watched it live. Boy, was that a moment. Yeah. Okay? And then even more of us got together in another ballroom, and Danny Sheehan and, I think Richard Dolan, some others got up, and we had kind of an engagement, right? They're talking about it and so forth. Very exciting. June the 5th. All right. Big move in the chess game. So now I'm really starting to think, we're winning here. This is starting to really happen. So what happens next? Only 39 days go by. There's a lot of news coverage, obviously. The news coverage in 2023 was the largest ever. Yeah. I logged in, triaged 1,800 articles from mainstream media about the subject. They're up on my website right now in the print media archive. Mm-hmm. So it's 39 days later that suddenly the next move is made, and it's one of the most important moves from us of all. And that is Chuck Schumer now steps forward, not as a member of the Intel Committee, he isn't, but as the Senate Majority Leader, and says that he has worked with someone in the Senate Defense Armed Services, which is now broadening the situation, Mike Rounds, and they have put together what they will be submitting is a major piece of legislation. This is how it works: small, medium, large, major.
Yeah.
And then he describes this bill, and I am listening to this. The bill has not been put up on the site yet. It's see, it was June the 5th. It was July 14th, and he goes through this bill, and then he says, and we're calling it the UAP Disclosure Act, and I went, oh yes,
I know you did.
Of course, you're calling it that.
Yeah.
Thank you. A little message to us. And it's going to do this, and it's going to do that, and so forth, and it's all fantastic. You can tell it's like a master bill. It's going to try to pretty much put everything together we need, and I'm very happy. And then he says, "Oh, and it will also include the legal demand that the United States has eminent domain over that non-human tech and non-human bodies from any civilian companies or civilians that have that tech." And I almost fell out of my chair. I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it. I was absolutely stunned. Now, a lot of people would go, "What's eminent domain?" Right. And I realized he had made a master move. This was like one of those moves in a world championship chess game where one of the players makes a move and everybody, sits up and goes, "Whoa!" Right? And they know, right? Oh, this is a major
mention. They come, yes,
absolutely. And so, and then after I was able to get, think about it, I realized what Schumer had done. I don't think an article has been written about this. I might write it, but whenever I write something and submit it, they never publish it. But what he had done is brilliant. In other words, Grush comes forward. He says, he confirms we've got non-human tech, non-human bodies, which basically confirms the ET presence and Roswell, et cetera, et cetera. But obviously, that's not disclosure. And he's getting attacked. They release his medical records. I don't know who did that. Didn't go well, blew up in their face. Sean Kirkpatrick writes a nasty letter about him. That blew up, but still, he's getting attacked. He's getting more death threats. Okay, so he's got a problem. He's alone. The people that he got the information from in the USAP are not going to come forward.
No.
The people that confirmed it to him, who had worked with him in other classified settings, who had some access, are not going to come forward. And so he's just, boom, boom. Okay. So Schumer makes this move. Now, look what he just did. Look what Schumer did on July the 14th of 2023. When he puts eminent domain into that proposed bill, one, he is confirming Grush. Right. He's saying, I am the Senate Majority Leader, one of the most powerful men in Congress, a member of the Gang of Eight, and I am adding eminent domain to this bill over that non-human tech that Grush told us about. Do you think I would do that if Grush made it up? Right? Or, nah, it's not true? Of course not. And so I just backed him up. I confirmed Grush, which is going to take some heat off of him. And of course, he has sent a message to the Intel Committee by stepping in that I am, as Senate Majority Leader, totally down with what you're doing. I support you. I'm good. I'm not in the committee, but hey, I got your back. That's certainly helpful.
Yes.
But then he did something else that was sheer genius. I hope someday I can sit down and talk with him and get into the weeds on this. But by putting that eminent domain in the bill, which it didn't have to have, I mean, really, you take that out, everything else was incredible. It was the plan to get everything out of the classified world, all of it, eventually, in an orderly process and into the National Archives and made public to the world. It had it all. Eminent domain was an add-on. All that was about, you may, under this bill, have to show us this tech, right, or provide the tech, right? But they'd still have all the rights to it. They would still be able to use it to service their corporate desires. He's saying no. If we need that, if we need to take control of that tech, we will do so, and we will use it as appropriate for the common good, which may result in you losing some bottom line, right? And so, but he didn't need it, but he did it. Why? Because he knew that once he put eminent domain in there, there's no way that the defense contractors who have been sitting back in the woods, totally cool, under a shade tree, They got the classifications of the programs, plus they're immune from the FOIA law. They never have to say a damn thing. They just eat lobster bisque in the corporate boardroom and make money. And so he realized they were going to have to respond. They couldn't let this go, right? And naturally they didn't. Now, we didn't know about it for weeks, but eventually the word started leaking out. Something's going on up in hell. And again, they might have gotten away with this in 1970, 1982 or something, but this is the age of the internet. And so they did not get away with it. And very quickly, we found out what was going on. They had to come forward. I say come forward. They had to out themselves by telling their intermediaries and lobbyists, you've got to get on the Hill and you've got to talk to the right people who have the power to put pressure on the conference committee that's doing the final wording of the bill and strip that out.
Right.
And if you can get a lot of other stuff out, do that too. Now, we know that at least 3 of the people that got approached were Mitchell, Rogers, and Warner. House Intelligence, House Armed Services, and the Senate Majority Leader, who I assure you had all the power they needed to take some of those conferees to dinner for a little, nice New York strip steak and some fine drinks at the Hamilton. And then after the first course, say, here's the deal. If you ever want to do anything again in your career as a member of the House, then you need to strip that bill of the eminent domain. Yes, sir. And so ultimately what happens is it gets stripped out. But they outed themselves. They basically have said, now you're not having control of that tech. Wait a minute. What tech?
What tech? Yeah.
He forced the defense contractors to confirm that we have non-human tech. But of course, bodies go with it. And so now they've confirmed it. He's confirmed it. Grush has confirmed it. It's all about not. And I'm watching this unfold. This is chess at the highest level. And so, okay. So what they finally did was they got rid of the eminent domain, and they also they played it down the middle. They got rid of eminent domain. They got rid of all the key powers. And they left the intent of the bill, which included the process of setting up an archive section, starting to get some flow. They didn't want to go too far, and that's fine. So they split it down the middle. We do have a UAP section at the archive now. It is getting some things, little few odds and ends and so forth. So that happened, but the power for the Congress and even the White House, in a sense, or at least the involvement of the White House, in the process was stripped out. So they can take their time. So in other words, they're saying, okay, look, that's what we need to do. Give us some time. Another 10, 15 years. I'm sure I'll be retired and rich, and then you can have anything you want. Okay. Right? That's kind of the game for me.
I need to jump in.
Bill has a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Bill.
I have to, because I've been doing a lot of research this. I've been talking to Richard Dolan and some others on this. I nailed what's going on, Steve. I've got it. I know what the issue is, and they even brought it up in the hearing. It's called the Atomic Energy Act of 1954.
Sure.
With the unacknowledged SAPs. So if you don't have, and a lot of people in Congress do not have the classification because they overclassified everything. It's a need to know. They don't want people to know anything that's going on. Even Bassett tried to get access, and he was denied because he doesn't have the classification. So they are purposely blocking all these SAP programs from getting disclosed because of their classification. And they need to find a way, that you mentioned Schumer, and I'm glad you did, because they need these higher profile people that have the classification to go into the SCIF to look at this stuff. And you know what else it leads to? Where's the oversight? Where's the money? Where's the money going to these black programs, these unacknowledged SAP programs? And I'm going to tell you, it's going to lead a crazy trail to a lot of people, all these aerospace companies, the contractors, people that retired from the agencies, military, that are now working for them. And who knows if there's outside influences with money being poured into it. So that is the core problem here, trying to get this stuff declassified because it's so overly classified, which they brought it up at the hearing numerous times. And it is so frustrating to a lot of us that are involved in this field that it just drives us crazy. So who do you think is going to do it, that they can get into that SCIF, look over these documents and say, okay, how are we going to have any of this declassified? Because unless we get evidence, documentation, anything to the public, they're just going to say it's another nothing burger. I have to hear your opinion on this.
Well, we have to get back to the chess game here. Now, I wasn't going to go there, but I'll go deeper into the bill. Not that many people have read this bill, the original UAP Disclosure Act. That's fine. And those that read it, I'm sure, missed a lot of what was important. This is a masterpiece of a bill. I mean, it's one of the greatest pieces of legislation of all time. It is the complete package. It is the culmination of the 6 years prior, starting with the New York Times article, and all the briefings and all the press that was covered, and everything that happened in the previous 5 years. Again, we have no idea how many people have talked to how many people on the Hill and how much learning they've gotten. But I think in the end, we will discover it was substantial. And so essentially, this bill covered it all. And I'm sure that the experts on the other side playing the game against us saw that right away. And one of the things that you just mentioned was critical, but again, very few people caught it, is that but this is, again, part of the chess game. This is in the bill, not simply to accomplish a result, but again, to send a message. Mm-hmm. Like he sent a message to Grush by asking for a domain. He sent a message to the defense contractors by putting in eminent domain. Why did he put in the bill and note that there was going to be one of the things they were doing was addressing the fact that a great deal of the involvement of the government in this issue, the UAP issue, was deliberately put under the Atomic Energy Act, because the Atomic Energy Act has some additional barriers that are not there with respect to, say, other areas, right? In terms of Air Force, Army, whatever the hell underneath the Pentagon.
No oversight.
So that just made it harder to get to. It was a very clever move. Now, researchers have addressed this in our side of the game, but while they had brought it up, it didn't go anywhere. Nothing was done. It was just one of those things that some researcher said was true, and the government would say, "I would have no idea what you're talking about." But Schumer just made it real. Schumer just made it real, and so that was in the bill. The bill is the whole package. It's it. That's how we're going to get it all. Not by putting people in skiffs and loading them up any further. No, because they can resist and fight that forever, right? We're going to have to enact a legislation that under the law demands that this happen, which is exactly what that bill did. So they gutted the powers, and this is now taking place as we go to the end of 2023. The bill is finally signed, and it is stripped down to basically the core concepts. All right. And now what's going to happen next? All right. Well, actually, before the bill was signed, I'm sorry, I got ahead of myself. So they have gutted the bill. We have learned that. We have learned that the language was changed, and we know what's going to be going up for signature by the president, which in this case was Biden. And that's when Schumer made another move in this chess game. It was a beaut. And again, if you look at these things like chess moves, they start to make sense. If you just look at it, well, what's happening now? No, it doesn't. What he does is he and Rounds go into the Senate chamber by themselves with a camera, which is done all the time, and read into the record a statement, right? And that's important. If you do it out in the steps, it didn't go in the record. You got to do it in the chamber. So when you do that, it's a statement that goes into the record of the Senate and obviously sends a message to anybody that listens. And what he says in about 5 minutes, along with Rounds, is that we're disappointed that this thing was pared back. We're a little irritated with our Republican friends for doing that, but we're not going to give up. We're going to continue to move forward and get this done. And then they were done. And I'm sure some people thought, well, good old Chuck. Yeah, he's a good guy. The people over in the defense contractors world, as well as the DOD, when they saw that, they realized he is not going to quit. He's not going to just take the loss and go home.
Right.
He's going to come back at us. He is it was for until another couple of months, the Senate Majority Leader, member of 8. And he in Rounds is involved. He's going to do it again. Plus, they realized that if he really wants to do this, he doesn't have to put it in the NDA. He can submit it as a standalone bill. The entire bill is a standalone bill to the Senate. Okay, still got to be passed by the Senate and the House could still block it. Except that when you do a standalone bill and it comes to the floor, they televise it on C-SPAN. And so everybody has to vote up or down on that bill. And you put those little numbers up there, yay, nay, yay, nay. And so everybody has to out themselves as whether they're in support of that bill. That's not the way it works in terms of the NDA submission, right? So he's put them in a very tough spot. And oh, no, what if he does that? And then while they're thinking about that, some aide that's paying attention, maybe watched our podcast, raises his hand and says, by the way, guys, have you considered the fact that while you can gut that bill, you can't stop Warner from holding a hearing in front of the Senate Intel Committee, right? A major hearing. We know the witnesses have been up on the Hill. We know they're talking to him. They've got a bunch of them. He could call a hearing tomorrow. You can't stop it. So Warner calls a hearing. Schumer could put a standalone bill in. We're in a lot of trouble here. We just expended. We just shot our watch here, right? What are we going to do next? And they panicked. They panicked. So this is how you win chess games. You make a move that causes the person to get worried, right? They panic a little bit. They think they're going to lose, and then they make a wrong move.
Yeah.
And so here is what they did when they panicked. They went to Sean Kirkpatrick, who had hired on and spent a year and a half as the head of Aero. We do not know what he was told when he hired on. We do not know whether he understood what was going to happen. Who knows? All we do know is that he got into a really bad gig. Right? It was an impossible situation.
It was.
And he found that out pretty quickly. And what he didn't know is that he had just been made mayor of a Potemkin village. In other words, Aero was set up to be Aero, to be there when it was needed after disclosure, not to go find out what the ETs are doing or what's going on up there. The government already knows. And so they didn't really want to spend any money. And that was a problem because Gillibrand was irritated. They weren't spending any money or getting enough money, but they didn't need it. It's just enough to pay his salary, do a couple of things. It was in place to be ready for disclosure, not to go look for anything. Now, right. If he knew that when he signed on and whatever happened later, it's on him. If he didn't and they played him, then he should be a very, very angry man. So anyway, he's got a very tough gig. Everybody kind of knew it. Everything was a little awkward, but whatever. We had Aero. We're moving forward, feeling good. Okay? And then Grush turns up.
Yeah.
Grush turns up at that hearing and outs the ET Tech, ET bodies. So now you're, Kirkpatrick, you're the head of Aero, the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office. And who do you think people are going to come to immediately when Grush tells the world in under oath that we have non-human tech and non-human bodies? They're going to come and talk to Dr. Kirkpatrick. And Dr. Kirkpatrick can't say jack.
Nope.
He can't say anything. He cannot do anything except take a vacation. I'm surprised he didn't go to Europe. Whatever. Just don't. And he's sitting there and he's real. I'm screwed. And so again, I have a lot of empathy for the man. Yeah. He could have done a number of things. He could have resigned in an opposition and said, "Look, this is all wrong. The government's lying about this, and I can't. I'm resigning." And Grush is telling the truth. Mm-hmm. He would have been a hero. He'd have been Times Magazine, maybe of the year, whatever. But he wouldn't have had another job in the government. Ever. Whatever job he had set up for him, and I think there was one, that's gone. He's got a family, so he's in a really tough spot. So he didn't do that.
What he rock and hard place.
He's in a rock and hard place. The government had him. There's no question. The government had him. The DOD did. And so what happened next will go down in infamy. Some idiot at the Pentagon said, "Okay, things are getting really desperate here. Let's go back to 1969. Let's take a look at 69, okay? You know what happened back then? Genius. Things are getting really irritating. Blue Book is getting all these reports coming in. It's endless, right? We can't really resolve any of them. It's all embarrassing. Hynek is starting to get a little, he's off the program. We got to get this under control." And they had a lot of resources, and it was a different time, 1969. And so they got together. for their chess move back then. And the chess move was this. Okay, let's get an distinguished professor to do a report, right? Get that baby together, 1968, whip it out later that year. And that report is basically going to say there's really nothing to this.
Right.
It's not, there's just no evidence, okay? And that, good, we got that. But then, based on that report, we're going to be able to then make the case why Blue Book has to be shut down. Mm-hmm. And the press is going, yeah, it makes sense to me, right? The academics are going, yeah, it's about time. That damn report was nothing but a pain in the butt. Got my students asking me about UFOs all the time. Damn it. And so they shut Blue Book down. Okay, got that done. Got the report. But they had another problem. They had NICAP. NICAP at one point had 15,000 members. Lots of scientists, academics, even CIA people. Had CIA people on the board. It was a serious organization. It was really doing the work. It was doing all the science that all the debunkers now, poor bastards, were saying that we needed to do. And it was a real problem. So it had to go. And so, no problem. We can shut down NICAP. How are you going to do that? It's simple. Either intentionally or it just worked out that way. NICAP had a number of CIA people that were on the board of directors. And so the DOD got in touch with them, or the CIA got in touch with them and said, hey, guys, Blue Book shut down. We got the Condon report. NICAP's got to go. So we need you to shut it down. Okay, you do that for us? That's good. Fantastic. And so these directors moved and threw Keogh out of the organization for financial improprieties. Right. As soon as he was gone, they started shutting down all of the regional offices, but they kept taking some dues, and they spent the dues money on themselves until it was, well, and then they just shut the whole thing down. NICAP was gone. Blue Book was gone. The Condon report was reigning supreme, and they were gold. 1969. And they remained pretty cool. They got 8 years, a little rest, a little respite. No, not too much going on. There were things going on, but overall, they had a nice 8 years. And then another move in our chess game. Stanton Friedman found out the address of where Jesse Marcel Sr. lived in Louisiana and headed on down there to the bayou, have a little of that shrimp, you know, and beer, and ask him about Roswell. Yeah. And the next thing you know, another researcher turns up, and the Roswell event explodes into the public arena, and the DOD and the Air Force are going, damn. Right?
God, almost made a clean getaway. Yeah.
Can we get a team of Salvadorans to take out the Friedman? What can we do about that guy? You know, they're saying, it's a little late in the game for that kind of stuff. And so again, major move, and then the game continues. And so somebody over the DOD said, it worked in 69. It can work now. Let's do that. We'll do the same thing now. These are people that probably wouldn't know TikTok. They think Twitter is a butterfly, whatever. They don't know jack, but they're thinking, but we're powerful. We're the national security state. And so how are we going to do it? It's simple. Arrow is going to do that study report we've been saying that they had to do. We're going to just make the thing a total bogus piece of nonsense and basically say nothing there, nothing to worry about. But we got to get somebody to sign it. Condon's dead. How about Kirkpatrick? He's already said he wants out. He's quitting. We got him lined up for a nice job somewhere. I forget where it was. And, he's kind of been an interesting spot there. So I think let's go see Sean and say, Dr. Kirkpatrick, we have to study here. We need you to sign it. And at that point, and maybe it'll be revisited someday in a memoir or an interview on 60 Minutes. Sean Kirkpatrick had to decide, do I sign that report, go get that job, take care of my family, or do I say, no, I cannot do that, and then go see the New York Times? He signed it. The report was published. It was an utter and complete fiasco. Yeah. It is difficult to find anybody who is not compromised in science, on the Hill, in the military, particularly retired, that hasn't said publicly it's a piece of crap. Yeah. And so it was a disgrace. They gave it a shot, didn't work, blew up on him, right? Bad move. So in other words, now again, we're starting to win the game again, okay? And so the report doesn't work. And then what happens next? I love it, man. I want to meet this guy. I really want to meet him. And I sit down with him. Again, I almost had lunch with him. I swear to God. Warner, but I'm talking actually about Schumer. But I want to meet Schumer, too.
Yeah.
Chuck Schumer reintroduces the entire UAP Disclosure Act, virtually word for word, along with rounds, back in for the 2024 NDAA, putting them in a position to have to sign it and to gut it again, right? And I'm going, oh, okay, fine. Now, big move, very big move. And so that's a big move for us, but they had to respond. And yeah, they made a powerful move of their own. They're saying, okay, that's pretty good move. Now take this, rook to, queen 7. What was the move? I don't know the full details, but I'll just give you a sense of it, understanding that I may have some things wrong, but overall it doesn't really matter. Sometime as the bill is moving forward towards submission to the NDA process, it had been announced, right? I think it might even be up on the site, at the Senate site, or maybe not quite yet. No, that's right. That later in the year, we discovered that it's not going to be in the NDAA. It's not in at all. And that was interesting, right? So, boy, somebody made a pretty good move. What was the move? What we think happened is this. Okay, so now remember, we got the election. I mean, we're now in serious. The political situation is getting really, really intense, and so the politics is involved. Everybody's getting pretty serious, and so even though they knew that it was not going to look good, they made a strong move. A senator. Initially, it was thought to be Rand Paul. I don't think it was. I even kind of jumped into that without really checking enough. And I apologize publicly that I'm sorry, Senator Paul. I went along with that, and it's clearly wrong. It wasn't him. It was another senator. The most likely candidate is Mitch McConnell. Mm-hmm. And what happened is that the second time around on the UAP Disclosure Act, it was going in a different door. It's a very complex process, passing these major bills. The first time it was an act submitted through a door. And it had to be worked over in once it was passed by the Senate, it's worked over in conference. This time they went in as an amendment through another door.
Yeah.
And because it went in as an amendment, under the rules of the Senate, there were certain key committee chairs or committee ranking members that had veto right. They could block it. Mm-hmm. And we think that it was Mitch McConnell, but whoever it was, they made it clear they're going to block the amendment. So what they knew is they could not get it in. There was no way that person's going to block it. You can submit it. It's a waste of time. It's not going to go in. All right. And so, what do you do? And I believe, and again, I'm on the outside trying to assess this. If somebody sits me down and straightens me out, I'll go on immediately and provide a more accurate presentation. But I like the scenario is that now we're late into the political year, right? I mean, we're heading toward the election, and they realized that if they had just go ahead and submit it, trigger the block, that was going to create a big stink, right? The internet's going to jump in. There's going to be a lot of yelling and screaming and what have you. And while it's righteous, right? If we find out who that senator was, we probably would have. We could yell and scream at him. But all of this is a distraction from an election that I'm sure that Chuck Schumer and Mark Warner considered pretty important. And so what apparently I believe they did is they didn't submit it. Okay. Now this is awkward, right? Because if they had deliberately withdrawn it and said, we're pulling this back, that would have been a bad move. A lot of people would not have been happy about that. But they really couldn't submit it. And so, as my understanding goes, and the news guys, the news articles didn't pick up on this. It's not that big a deal. It's not that big a story. But based upon some inside information, they stated inside, to those that cared, that a staffer dropped the ball and forgot to do it.
Oh,
in other words, they missed the deadline.
But that's typical. I had not heard that, but
they missed the deadline. So you see how that works out. In other words, oh God, we missed the deadline. We're idiots, but we didn't withdraw it. You see, they took it out of play. All right. So again, the chess game is getting interesting here, isn't it? All right. So that's done. And then, of course, what happens next is we move towards the election. And the chess game gets real serious. To their credit, and I'll tell you, I have nothing but praise for these people with respect to our field, our work, our issues. The Republican members of the Oversight Committee, particularly Mace, Luna, Burchett, Grothman too, made it clear that they were not going to give up. They were not going to be deterred. They were going to continue, regardless of how the election went or didn't go, regardless about the fact that the Senate bill didn't happen. They got their own committee, and they're going to move forward. And they let it be known they were going to do another hearing. They wanted to do another hearing. And I'm going, okay, that's cool. And then the election takes place. Now that comes under the heading of the environmental context of your chess game.
Yeah.
You're still playing the same chess game, but all of a sudden, the doors blew out, the ceiling collapsed, whatever. And so, oh my God. All right. Yeah. So now all the circumstances are changing, and now we're going to have to adapt to what is what things are, what the circumstances as we play this game going forward. While I've always been nonpartisan on this issue. I've never gone partisan in 28 years. Not going to do it now. So the election is won, okay? And we learned that they're going to have that hearing. They're going to move forward to have the hearing. She's going to have it. This is Nancy Mace's hearing this time.
Nancy
right?
Mace did that.
It was Burchett the first time. Now it's Nancy Mace, who I have come to realize is one tough cookie. Smart, tough. All right? That's enough right there. And so we learned that, and then it gets, then some other moves are being made. So her move is she's now playing on our side of the board, right? She's making a move toward disclosure. So I'm concerned he's on our side of the board. She's moving for us. So she makes the move. We're going to have the hearing, but she wants to get good solid witnesses. She doesn't want to do something like Grush again. She wants to get well. It's not that he wasn't solid.
Right.
She wants to have a little more expanded hearing, right?
Yes.
And she wants good witnesses, of course. And so she's looking for it. She's trying to find something, all right? And we knew that, and I knew that. And so I'm starting to think, and this may be an opportunity. So put a pin in that. Then we learn that she's got two. She's got Elizondo and Gallaudet, which is pretty good. And then in the middle of this whole process, good old Ross Coulthart, the guy's got to get a Pulitzer Prize somehow. He can, by the way, because he's working for U.S. media. Yeah. He drops the Immaculate Constellation story. Yes. Boom. Bonk. Right? And again, understand, this is in the middle of the elections lost. We're moving to a transition. This story drops in. In other words, even in the greatest political upheaval in history and political change in history in America, this issue just keeps chugging along, doesn't it? Because it is nonpartisan. Yes. And that is its greatest power. Yes, it is. And so, boom, that drops. Yes. And people are going, what? What's going on here? And so I don't think it was deliberate on her part, but if it was a deliberate chess move, she gets another 300 grandmaster points. She goes after the Constellation, Immaculate Constellation witness, the one that's anonymous. She's going after that guy, okay? Going to get that guy. Okay, now that's bold. Now, we don't know if that guy would have done it, though he would have gotten damn famous real fast. But what happened then, again, so that's her move. Again, that's why, again, and now the Pentagon's got to move. And they've been making nothing but shitty moves for some time, right? And so the Pentagon, what are we going to do? And so their move was, as far as I know, is somehow they got the word either directly, indirectly, or whatever through an intermediary to who I now refer to as Congresswoman Nancy Heller Highwater Mace. That that witness, you can't have a witness like that.
Yeah, because she said at the hearing, We're now on a list discussing this. I just want everybody to know we're on a list.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of a joke. She may or may not be on a list, but she's definitely not one of her favorite, not one of the favorite people. And but at the same time, they say, look, and by the way, we don't even want you to mention it.
Yes.
We don't want it to come up. Mm-hmm. And of course, she basically told him to go pound sand. But I think she said it stronger than that because she's capable of that. And so she knows I'm not going to get that witness. So she goes and gets Schellenberger.
Yes.
Boom. All right. I didn't know that. All right. I didn't know that. So now she's up to 3. But because I didn't know that, I was making my own move. This is me making a little chess move on the side. You know, this little pawn over in the corner, move my pawn up to like king 4, whatever the hell. And it was this. I knew how to get in that hearing. I'd already done it once before. I said, I'm going to be able to get in that hearing, but it's going to be painful. And I'm going to get Robert Salas out here. I know he wants to come anyway, right? He wants to go to this hearing. So I'm going to help him get in that room. Mm-hmm. All right. I'm going to get Robert Salas in that room. Okay. But before that, and this is like about 7-8 days, I went up on the Hill and I distributed a set of the nuclear weapons shutdown witnesses test affidavits. There was 10 of them. Mm-hmm. Signed affidavits testifying to what happened when those weapons were shut down, mm-hmm. including the event that involved Jacobs, right?
Yes.
Those were originally created and disseminated to the media 14 years ago in 2010 at the National Press Club. They gave a big press conference and handed out the affidavits from these SAC base officers saying they shut our missiles down. And the fine reporters went home and didn't do jack. The Washington Post wrote a funny piece about it.
Yes, they did.
Which I am going to eventually, they're going to account for that because I'm never going to forget it. And nothing happened. And now 14 years go by. So here we are now. Well, as it happened, Bob gave me about 50 copies of those affidavits back in 2010 on the way out the door. And I've had them in my office for 14 years. And so about 7 days before that thing, I went up on the Hill and I distributed, hand-delivered 10 copies of this to the 10 appropriate offices, including Burchett, Mace, Loon, and so forth. Now, there was only a few people there. They're all campaigning, no problem. Had a nice cover letter on it, right? And then I waited about 4 days. I know it takes about 4 days to clear all the, the technology and the scanning and the checking for ricin and whatever the hell they have to do now for a mailed copy. And so I mailed a set. So they would get there about 8 days later. And so all these offices have 2 sets of these affidavits floating around. And then I was able to arrange for a electronic set of it. In other words, I scanned them into a file and the cover letter and electronically set it to a legislative aide in Mace's office. And my goal was simple. She needs a witness. I got one. We got a fantastic witness. Okay, fine. So all that was happening. But again, the election's underway. They're campaigning. I felt it was a low probability, but I still fantastic that those affidavits are now in the hands of the UAP caucus. And so they pick Gold, right? That's fine. Excellent choice. He covers a lot of areas. Bob got into the hearing, all right, and was able to watch it. And there were some other things that went on afterwards, but the outcome of it is this. 1, Mace made it clear in the hearing she wants more hearings.
Yes.
Now, does that mean the next one will be after the new administration takes over, or is she going to try to slip another one in?
No.
She may be, no, she might. Why? Because Gillibrand's going to hold one. Yeah. So if Gillibrand's going to hold one in December, why can't she? However,
that's the Arms Committee, right, Steve?
Gillibrand is going to do this one on the Armed Services, yeah. Right. And I think it's going to be a one-person briefing that they keep calling a hearing. It's not a hearing, but you never know. Plus, I'm my next step. I'm giving them a warning. You're the first to know. I'm going to go up on the Hill here in a few days, and I'm going to deliver a set of those affidavits with a cover letter to all 17 offices of the Senate Intelligence Committee.
Absolutely.
And if I can make enough copies, I might just distribute them to the entire Armed Services Committee. In other words, after 50 years, not 50 years, 57 years since the missiles were shut down at Malmstrom.
60s.
Yeah.
30 years since Bob came forward and started the activist process that led to the Hastings book, the documentary, 3 other books. It's possible that we are now at striking distance for them to testify. And so I'm going to put that out there and see what we'll have there. We're going to do that. All right. And so the prospects that these witnesses, the nuclear shutdown witnesses, are going to be part of a hearing. It should be the Senate hearing, but it could be the House hearing. Now, once the new administration takes over, then obviously they're free to have a hearing and things will get very interesting. But that is 70 days away, and I can't think that far away. So you got that down. Now, let me tell you the circumstances right now as an activist. And again, we're still talking about moves here. It's still a chess game that they are still losing. Right now, there's 2 ways this can end, and one is better than the other. But I assure you, this is not a partisan selection on my part. It really isn't. And I'll explain. There is more than enough time for the Senate Intelligence Committee to hold a 1-week, 20-witness hearing like the Nixon hearing, blow this thing completely out of the water.
Blow it out of the
and
water.
then Biden can step forward and say, hey, we got ET's disclosures happen. That would probably occur November. He might step out in early December. I mean, rather in December, he could step out early January, whatever, right? But it's done. We've got disclosure. Why is that preferable? Several reasons. One, the new president is coming into an administration and a term facing unbelievably difficult problems, intending to do unbelievably difficult things. It is another chess game, right? But it's almost 4-dimensional chess. If we get disclosure now in this period,
in this
then
environment,
we will already be weeks into the post-disclosure world before the inauguration. And so that's done. Every head of state of any consequence has already acknowledged it. The people are on fire. Everybody's excited. It's a great thing. We're in the post-disclosure world. And the new president takes office. Everything's pretty much ready to go. And that is just, and then can address the post-disclosure implications and fit them into whatever agenda they want to do. In other words, that very important piece of the recipe to make the perfect chocolate cake is going to be available. But then that president, who is Trump, of course, will be the first American president to address the post-disclosure world and set policy. Pretty big deal. Win, win, win. All right? That's why it's got to be that. But if it
you
doesn't
don't see
happen,
that honestly happening, Steve, do you?
oh, absolutely, it's a possibility.
I think absolutely it's possible. Absolutely.
It's absolutely possible.
The
Not
momentum
absolutely.
is on our side.
Yeah.
It is.
Because we can't predict the future. There's so much going on. But do I give the probability? I would say 30%. But if it doesn't happen, then it will happen in the first 60 days of the Trump administration. I give the probability of that about 70, 80%. Why? Here's the reason. Number one, again, totally nonpartisan assessment. As it happens, Donald Trump, as a candidate and as a president, has been asked about this subject more than any other president. Not even Hillary Clinton got as many questions asked about this.
And JFK.
Right.
Right.
And by that, I mean, actually, she did get asked a number of questions during her campaign. I was the reason, one of the reasons for that, I can assure you. So, it's a big number, but she never got asked as president. So let me just say that he gotten asked a lot as president and as candidate, right, on this issue. He always gives fairly simple, not complicated responses, not particularly gets excited. But nevertheless, we know it's been in play. It's in the mix and has been for some time. But there are other matters that transcend it. Okay, no problem. As we approach the election this time, it got a little more intense. He got asked a couple of questions. His response was a little stronger. And then comes the big one. The interview that may have locked in his presidency without question. Now, we don't know for sure. But I'll tell you this, if it wasn't for this interview, that election would have been way closer. And that is the interview with
Rogan.
Yep.
Yeah.
A 3-hour relaxed conversation in which he brings up the ET issue and the UFO issue, and President candidate Trump says, yes, I'm going to release the JFK files and the UFO files.
Yep.
Now, you may say, well, yeah, he's kind of said sort of things like that. You never know. You never know what he's going to do or not do, except that he said it on Rogan. And at the last count, counting the YouTube views, the Spotify views, and I think there's 2 other platforms, I believe that interview has been now viewed somewhere in the range of 80 million times.
Wow.
80 million times. Wow. I think the average audience for a CNN nightly show is like a million. 80 million interviews. And then, of course, the other candidate was invited to do the show, 3 hours. And this candidate said, no, but if you come where I'm at, I can give you an hour. This will go down in history.
Yeah.
Is one of the biggest mistakes any candidate for president has made going all the way back to Jefferson and Washington. Okay. Yeah. It's going to be taught in political science classes for the rest of this century. Whatever. Not throwing shade here. I mean, look, being a candidate's not easy. But the point is that that put it major in play. Now, I've also noted in certain reports that there are people around him that are pulling this up. They're bringing it up. And we're not just talking about, Don Jr. We're talking about people that are either considered for the administration or close to him. They have brought it up. I am now convinced that within his circle, they have come to understand what is possible here and what it means for President-elect Trump. And I think at some point, if it hasn't happened already, somebody is going to state to the president-elect, sir, you've talked about this. You've indicated you were going to do something and get the files out, which is kind of a shorthand term for end the embargo, right? How that it gets done is mostly about, hey, a lot of stuff gets said. If you were to do that, you would get perhaps one of the greatest political legacies in the history of politics. It'll be one of the most important events of all time, and it's yours, right? And if that happens, yeah, he's going to do it. And so I believe it happens in the first 60 days of his administration. Now, there's 2 ways it can go down: the good way and the bad way. And this comes under move, but it's the very end. However it comes, we still win the chess game. The final move to disclose is really our move. So if President Trump triggers disclosure, he has joined our side and checkmated the DOD for us. He can do it unilaterally, in which he just calls some press in to the Oval Office and take a seat, hands out some snacks, and then slams some documents on top of the Oval the Resolute desk, and says, these documents confirm that there's ETs here, and I'm now confirming it to you, and I'm going to give a press conference tomorrow and confirm it. We're not alone. What do you think about that? Okay, that's the unilateral approach. Now there's the other approach, the approach that has been in play for some time, and that is let the now Republican-controlled Senate hold that hearing. Bring in the witnesses.
Yes.
And have the testimony. And make the big, just to create a big splash and a lot of excitement and set him up to disclose. The advantage of that is it's more orderly.
Yeah.
It's less partisan.
Yes.
And it also
people have more confidence in it because they all know he's a pathological liar.
Yeah. But wait a minute. I'm saying if he does it unilaterally, it's not like he's just going to tell them, oh, yeah, no, he's going to slam some documents up there. There's 1,000 ways he can lock it in. It's not going to be take my word for it. But if he does it through the Senate, then he's sharing the glory with the 9 Republican members of the Senate Intelligence Committee. Yeah. That would be a smart move. All right. And so it's going to be one of these 2 ways. So for where I sit right now, the Dems could do it in the transition period, or Trump will do it in the first 60 days. Barring, again, the awful history that has plagued us forever. If in that period,
but
a nuke is used in Ukraine, throw that schedule out the window.
Here's the big but. As far as declassifying, because it's under the Department of Energy umbrella, which is nuclear as well, I don't know if he can simply just say, I'm going to declassify anything from this area that has to do with any SAPs. It might still have to go through the proper channels for that to get absolute declassification that he can do it.
We're talking about two different things here. One thing is getting disclosure. You don't have to go down into all the vaults and drag everything out to get disclosure. Right. All you need is a proper situation for the president to disclose. And you don't need 1,000 files. You just need enough that backs up the situation, which would be the witness testimony. That's all you need. Once you get disclosure, then under some bill like the UAP disclosure bill, the stuff starts coming out.
Right.
All right. And in terms of the atomic energy, that is protection against the public processes and congressional efforts. The president can go to the atomic energy and say, pull the stuff out. And they can't say, oh, no, under the act. No, I'm the president. You're pulling it out. The president has the ultimate power to declassify everything. Right. And everything technically could come out. The only way something might not come out eventually, 6, 7, 8 years, is one of those rogue special access programs that is so special and so unacknowledged that nobody even knows about it. Nobody knows except them. And they've got this underground facility. And so nobody knows about us. We're just going to keep doing our thing, right? You know, it's like good. They're getting paid through a back door. And then eventually somebody will find it and they'll all go to prison. So this is the scenario that I see going forward. Either way, I'm fine. I don't care if we get disclosure under Biden or get it under Trump. Doesn't matter. It's going to work out. It's a transcendent issue. Now, let's just say that the disclosure event will be the greatest paradigm shift in history, and it will be a challenge to any administration. Pick the best one you got. Go back in history. And then put them in there. It's going to be a major challenge. It is very intense. I would lean this way, that the nonpartisan and extraordinary implications of this is going to bring out the best of whoever is serving at that time. In other words, it's not going to be that difficult to put immediate personal needs and desires aside a little bit, or put political aspirations aside, or just desire to do weird things aside in service to this extraordinary event. And so I think that even though it's going to be incredibly challenging, and I don't care who are the nominees and who's running things, I think that they're going to step up and play above their head. All right. I'm saying that legitimately. It's just not aspiration.
Right. I think Steve's right, because he will be the disclosure president forever and ever. It goes into history books. His legacy. I just imagine that.
This is too big to be something that just plays into his ego.
Again, that's not history is not about that. History is about disclosure. Remember, within a week, heads of state around the world will confirm it. And so very quickly, the post-disclosure world, he may have been the disclosure president, but you've got dozens of other heads of state that are now speaking to this issue, and the whole thing is global.
Right.
And so again, we're at that point. We're not the only game in town. Right. And the other countries have got stuff. And so again, it's going to sort itself out. And the other thing is this: if you are on a stage that profound, right, in a moment in history that great, I think most people realize we got to be in our best behavior. Anything you do that's really ridiculous, you're actually undermining everyone around you, including the president. This is not the time to do stupid stuff. And I think these people are not stupid, right? They know, it's like you like to dress up in flip-flops and shorts and no T-shirt. I get it. But you're not going to walk into the wedding of your best friend dressed that way, are you? You're going to be on your best behavior. And so I have a relatively optimistic. My biggest concern, though, is really not that scenario. I feel good about it. My biggest concern is that there are several things that could happen outside of this chess game that could really screw it all up. Yeah. And I'm worried about a terrorist bomb, either a nuke or a huge one that actually does a huge damage, kills a lot of important people, a nuke event in the Ukraine, a move by China on Taiwan in a post-Trump era where they may think they've got an opening there because he will be controlling the defense. He's the commander in chief. And so if they make a move at Taiwan after Trump takes power, it is Trump that's going to decide whether our nuclear submarines are going to get involved at all, or our aircraft carriers. We have sent some out there already. I don't know how many, but, anytime you send an aircraft carrier somewhere, it's kind of a big deal. It costs about, $1 million a minute to run the damn thing. Yeah. And so all he has to do is say, stand down. So anything like that, and disclosure's off the table. And so that's another reason why I encourage the Senate Intelligence Committee to consider this. Yes. You have been dancing with this and dancing and dancing. Clinton was given the information and then stonewalled. He made an effort. Clinton was going to do it. She lost. You could have done this many times over the last 30 years. Get it done, right? Get it done. And if you were so stupid to think that aero report was real and therefore why are we doing this, get out of government. Go start a startup company, right? Yeah. Whatever. Make some money, but for God's sakes, don't try to do anything involving leadership. Yeah. Okay, that's it. I am now prepared to take the odd question about anything and give nothing but short answers. I know you don't believe that. But
I've got a ton, but
we're already overtime.
Yeah, we are.
We're like in the 12th inning here.
What does it matter? I mean, you got a limit there. I mean, what they're gonna take you off the air? Is this live or recorded?
This is live.
Okay, well, who's gonna stop us?
No. I have the power to, but I say no.
Well, there you go. Good. He's the boss of me when it comes to this show.
All right, well, he's the boss, and we will continue until he throws us out.
I took 8 pages of notes during the hearing, so I'm like insane on my end. But
look, we can do another show, wait a few days, that's all right, but if you've and that may make sense, but if you've got a few more questions you want to throw, go for it.
Can I start?
Yeah.
Lou brought up, actually he did mention about having recovered bodies, but he said it was before I was born, meaning it kind of sounds like he was referring to Roswell.
Elizondo.
Lou. Yes. Elizondo.
Right. Well, Elizondo is I think he's around 55 or something.
Yes, I believe so.
Let's just say that that's an obvious referral. Yes. And it's interesting because you may or may not have noted it, but in all the discussions you hear here, there, ever, the testimony last time at the other hearing and this meeting and that meeting, Roswell is never brought up. Never. It's never brought up. And people say, well, why don't they bring Roswell up? I mean, it's a big deal. Well, there's a couple of reasons. One, Roswell is the best known case in the world on this subject. You bring up Roswell and millions of people's ears go, up. Yeah, now I know what you're talking about. You're talking about the craft and the bodies and everything else. And so that's like a trigger. All right. Plus, Roswell instantly reminds everyone that, this actually was happening 77 years ago. Right? That was such a long time, and we're still not dealing with it. And so they just don't go there. And so, but good old Lou, whether he knew it or not, when he made that statement, a whole lot of people knew what he was talking about. And so there you go.
Yeah. Annie, your turn. Go for it.
Yes.
The way that I look at this, well, first of all, I was very impressed with David Grush. I was very impressed with that particular hearing. But I believe that what we're doing here, and this, Steve, we've done events together, we've talked. I feel like this is, rather than framing it as a chess game, I think that it's like people that I work with that do paranormal investigation. It's the piling on, the one thing after another, and that compilation of information gets so weighty that it's going to topple. It has to, because gravity is the law, and at some point we got to give. So the way that I look at this is that it is just a matter of time. But there's also a part of me, honestly, don't think I'm being woo-woo, but I feel like this is our human destiny. This is our evolutionary path, and that we are coming to the point now where disclosure is the paradigm shift, and the paradigm shift is disclosure, and it is all one thing, and that it will fundamentally change human consciousness. So I really come from that perspective.
Yeah, that's good.
And I think that that's something that needs to be discussed more. God knows I give it my best shot to reach people in terms of how their presence affects us, how many millions of us are contactees, myself included, experiencers, more than that, part of the galactic family. And we have to speak up too, not just the scientists, not just the senators and the representatives, not just the whistleblowers and those that are coming from within. And I also came to a point where I stopped being militant about this, and I realized that if they disclose one thing, they disclose everything. This is an all or nothing proposition. I felt badly. I felt empathy the way that you did for a man almost compelled to sign a report that he knew was a lie. It broke my heart for him because and I know that people have paid with their lives to keep this secret. And
some, fortunately, not a lot. Thank God.
A lot,
we're not Nazi Germany.
One is too many.
True.
Yes, one was too many.
You made a point I like, and I'd like to elaborate on. For the first, from basically 47 to 17. Well, no, that's not true. 47 to about 1995. Let's start with that period there, 1993, the beginning of the Clinton administration. So we're talking about 46 years.
46.
The principal modality of this issue was piling on. The idea was you're going to keep piling evidence on top of evidence on top of evidence on reports upon this and that and everything until it's so big that the government will look at this stack of evidence and go, what can we say? The ETs are here. Unfortunately,
it didn't work.
Because the truth embargo is a non-trivial thing. It is a brilliantly constructed, very well-funded operation by the United States government, and it succeeds. And so what needed to happen is to not just continue to do the work, though frankly, by 1993, they proved it 18 times over. But we needed to we piled it on, we got the evidence, keep doing that, but then we had to start playing chess. We had to start the chess game, and it really begins around 1993. Okay. I will say the game really gets underway when Rockefeller's lawyer sends a fax to John Gibbons, I forget his name. He was the Office of Science and Technology chief, says, I want to meet with the president. I got a report I want to give him. I want to get the files out, UFO files out. And thus began the Rockefeller Initiative. That was Rockefeller's move. It was a big move, right? It was and it went here and it went there. And so the chess game gets underway. Now, the research doesn't stop. Obviously, the books continue to be written. But now there's a chess game underway. And that's important. This is a game with an end. You can pile research on top of research for 1,000 years. A chess game has got to end, right? In fact, it has to end. And it can end in a tie, right? That is true. But this is not a game that can end that way. No. And so the chess game gets underway. And so it's been underway since 93. That's essentially 31 years, which is a nice long game. It's about to end. And so I agree with you. But there was that chess game, which is basically a political game. It's pretty much, these are political moves that are being made in almost every case, right? Politics is at the core of almost everything at this point. Everything. These are not scientific chess moves, right. All right? It's not with scientists making this move and the other person's making that move to see who's going to get their theory approved or win no. This is a political game. These kinds of chess games are played all the time. They're being played over Ukraine. They're being played over climate change and everything else. It's politics, but it's also chess. That's why it's one of the great games of all time, and every kid should learn. You've got to move, they've got to move, and ultimately you want to end up in which you get a win, or you get a tie and you both win, which is fine. In the case of disclosure, there cannot be a tie, right? There's no way that both win here. You can't have a truth embargo and disclosure at the same time. One has to go.
One has to give.
And so this is a win. So anyway, that's what I wanted to say about that. Got another question for me?
Well, Andrea, what you just mentioned, Gallaudet brought up. He said there needs to be protections for civilian and commercial pilots and civilians.
Yes, and
you did mention that. Now, for you, Steve, better protections for whistleblowers. I don't know how much more they can do, but Lou brought it up. He said that they've been criminally investigated, intimidated, and even lives threatened. So how can a whistleblower, because we know that the other whistleblower is unknown, the Immaculate Constellation, because he said, I will even go to prison to protect my witness. He said that, Schellenberger. So what can we do to have these whistleblowers, to protect them, to come forward in these hearings?
All right, let me provide perspective. When Lou makes that statement, he's not talking about last month.
Oh.
He's basically saying that over this whole span of 77 years, there has been this and that and whatever. All right. I think that there's been not that much in the last years, going back maybe even 10, 15, but Grush was special. Okay, Grush was, a lot of stuff has come out. I haven't heard too much, but Grush was a special case. And so that kind of stuff started happening. And we don't know if it was formal. In other words, it may not have been the DOD had anything to do with releasing his medical record. Admittedly, that letter from Kirkpatrick was essentially coming from the government, but it was more of a personal matter. And any other threats he's getting, we don't know the source. We do know that when he was getting harassed, he went and got a complete hearing from the Inspector General of the intelligence community. Yeah. He was represented by the former Inspector General of the intelligence community, and they acknowledged the truth of it and did what they could to mitigate the thing. That's just happened. That is true. All right. And the fact that it didn't completely clear it up, or even if the people working around him stopped bothering him, that doesn't mean people on the internet can't do stuff. Nowadays, you can threaten anybody all the time. It's basically free for all. And you got to adjust to that, or you're going to have to take lots of Xanax to stay sane. So I don't think that that threats are being thrown around. I don't think anybody's being killed now. I think most of the worst is over. But that doesn't mean that the specter can come up. Lou has been out for 7 years. Lou was Intel. He ran Intel. Okay? He has had some threats.
Oh, yeah.
But they could have come from the DOD. They could have come from anybody, right? They could have been civilian. They could have been private threats. In other words, a guy works at DOD, but he's pissed off. So he's not threatening Lou as an action of the DOD. This is just that person at home going, I hate this guy. And doing this. But they're both still alive, all right, and functioning. It's good to bring up this a little bit to remind people, if you get any ideas, don't.
Exactly.
All right, we're way on top of this now, all right? So I don't want people to overreact to that. As far as whistleblower and witness protection, there is a Whistleblower Act. There has been some witness protection in the previous acts. It's not like there's nothing there. There is stuff there.
Right.
But, and here is the issue to solve, the problem to solve. The first-hand witnesses to ET stuff, non-human tech stuff and everything, that's top. Most classified thing in the U.S. government. So these aren't just any first-hand witnesses. And so these people do not feel that what we have, which I think is not unreasonable, we got some protection. It's not enough for them. They want more. They want better protection for them to come forward. And so the Senate and the House, particularly, they want those firsthand witnesses, but they are not ready to come forward. So you've got this standoff going on. And both sides know this. All right. So that's why Danny has been writing very, very extensive witness whistleblower. They're not the same thing, but both need protection, but for different reasons. Well, somewhat different reasons. Danny's writing this, and there's probably others involved. So perhaps we will see a substantial whistleblower act submitted. Now, if I'm not mistaken, by the way, I'm glad you said this. Again, things are breaking so fast.
Fast,
But let me just do this here. I believe this broke today or yesterday. It's witness.
And make sure to check out paradigmresearchgroup.org for those watching.
Okay, here it is. Here it is, right here. 3 days ago, Representative Bassett introduces bill protecting UAP whistleblowers. It's actually coming from his personal office, and then News Nation picked it up. Let's see what they had to say. This is fairly recent, and virtually simultaneous with that. Essentially simultaneous with that hearing. Let's see. It may not be total disclosure, but one lawmaker who advocated for UFO whistleblowers is optimistic that some significant information will come from Wednesday's hearing. Okay, that's all fine. This is News Nation, by the way. Coming from Wednesday's hearing. I think we're going to learn some things. It's peeling back the layers of the onion. The best pilots. Now, down here somewhere, it should say that. Oh, wait a minute. I get it. It's in the video part. He's talking about the witnesses. I think it's in the video interview. Anyway, now it's confirmed to me. Yeah, Bassett has introduced a whistleblower act. Now, I haven't read it. I don't think Danny was involved. But again, clearly, the House understands that we don't have enough witness protection, and they're moving on it. And so if he gets that bill passed, then it's still got to be passed by the Senate. Now, I'm thinking that, like, well, he's submitting it into a Republican House, so we know it's going to get passed. If they're really nonpartisan, they'll submit it to the Senate and get it passed there before the end of the term, right? And Biden can sign it. That would be a very nice gesture on his part, okay? So it's possible we may have an improved whistleblower protection as of the end of the year. Yeah. Does that mean that some of those witnesses will come forward? It's very possible. So, again, that's another move. It's a chess move by Bassett. It's a good one, all right? And so, again, I want to take this opportunity, as I have many times, to inform the Department of Defense. You're losing the game. You're mated. You're probably mated in 3 moves. What you're supposed to do in civilized chess is once you realize you've been mated, you're supposed to turn your king over. You just put your king down and you shake the opponent's hand, okay? Some knuckleheads, they continue to move anyway. They just keep moving until they're finally actually in checkmate just to be obstinate. That's not a good look for the DOJ. All right. And I'm putting that out there, dear.
That's okay. Steve,
Yes.
I love the analogy of the chess game. But I play chess. I love chess. But what I discovered about chess as a young girl when I first learned was that the great value of chess is that it teaches you how to think.
Sure.
And I think it's time that we, not only as a national issue, but as a global issue, that we start thinking in a higher dimension in terms of living in a multidimensional universe instead of a 3-dimensional world. And I can't see how this compilation, as I described, of hearings and testimonies and so on and so forth, we're getting to where you throw down the fulcrum, we're getting to that point, that pivot point where there's no going back. There's just no going back. And if you've really got your head in the game, then if you're the DOD, you need to start figuring out a way to soften the fact that you've been lying to the world for 70 years.
Absolutely.
For real.
That's one of my key messages. One of the reasons, there's 2 reasons all this stuff is going on. The legislation, the hearing, the briefings, all of this stuff. There's 2 reasons. But most of the public don't get that. The 2 reasons are, 1, We have to be fully prepared, set up, and ready to go if disclosure happens, because it could happen from another country, another head of state, in which case we're not ready, but we're ready. Okay. If it happens to be our president, fine. But if it's not, we're ready. We have to be ready for that. Yeah. And the problem is we can't tell people why we're doing this. Okay. That's the first reason. The second reason is, there's going to be a lot of cognitive dissonance and irritation when the truths of this start coming out. This is not a trivial matter. And there's no way around it, right? I mean, if you retire and go move to Boca Raton, don't leave a forwarding address, no problem. But if you're still working in government, you're going to have to face these questions. But actually, you hire people to face them for you.
Right, for you.
And it's not going to be, but it's not going to be pleasant. We get that. And there's no way really out from under that. All right. But if they prepare, if they get this done, if they do all these things that they're supposed to be doing in preparation for disclosure, even though it's in the guise of, we need to find out what's going on up there. I mean, there's clearly maybe something going on. We need to find out. Let's get a study, UFO group over at NASA. Let's do this. Let's do that. Whatever. Got to find out. No, they already know. They've known for decades. So that, nevertheless, even though it's in that guise, which is a little awkward, but we can be generous there, by getting all this work done and getting ready, when disclosure comes, people are much more likely to be reasonable about it. In other words, well, a lot of you that set this up recently, you didn't start the truth embargo. They're all dead. Right. Most of the people, the first third of the truth embargo, they're gone now anyway. And so you're not, you're just part of a long process. And you did get this all done. You set up the organization. You're trying to do the right thing. It's going to minimize their public relations problem. There's no question about it. And I think that's the second reason they're doing it, if they've got any brains at all, and I think they do. And so that's two very good reasons why this had to be done. But again, the dilemma was, how do you set up to tell a major truth? I mean, how do you go through a very elaborate, complex, expensive process to prepare to tell a major truth that you already know, and not tell the people that truth as you set it up? Why do we have Arrow? Oh, well, there's an extraterrestrial presence. So we need to set up an all-domain anomaly resolute. An extraterrestrial presence? Their head president hasn't said that. Are you saying there's ET presence? Well, no. I didn't mean to say that, right? Why are we having these hearings? Well, we need to get some witness testimony and get the people briefed because, there's an ET presence here. What? You see the dilemma? There's nobody out there that is talking about this. I mean, not News Nation, not Washington Post, New York Times, all of the interviews I've seen. Nobody is talking this way. I'm not bragging. I mean, my history in this is kind of unique. Most other people would never do what I'm doing. It's insane, right? You do. But God, I would like to get on Rogan or CNN and point this out.
Me too. And you know what? I have a pathway to that. But my message is going to be their message, and their message to me the morning of the beginning of the when the bombs started flying in Ukraine that morning. Yeah. I got the clearest, most succinct message that I have ever received. As I was just sitting having coffee on my terrace overlooking Lake Apopka in Florida, and I felt it. I knew what was coming. The whole vibration changed. I knew it was coming. And I said, it's time for you to get down here now. Now, you need to come now. And the message that I got, I will never forget. It was so clear. If we are here, this planet and its people are in crisis. We are here. The message that I got 3 months ago was forgive them. That is the only path. That is the only path.
Okay. Who is them?
The liars.
Gotcha.
The lying liars.
So you got to download, you think, from your extraterrestrial entities that you're dealing with or whatever.
Yes.
Forgive them. I love these guys. That we're on the same page here, right? Yes. And I've been saying I've been saying absolutely the same thing.
Yeah.
All right?
This is a spiritual epiphany.
Right. Boy, God, if I could just get rid of my ADDH and write a damn book, but Richard writes all the books, not me. The point is
that we can help you with that.
The modern era begins.
Yes.
The moment, not when we invented the bomb, not when we tested the bomb, but when we dropped it in Japan.
Yes.
And from their point of view, you are in crisis now, folks.
Yeah.
Right? We've been kind of cruising around, not doing much. You rarely see us. We got a little here, a little there. We're just chilling. It's mostly a vacation. And then boom, those bombs get dropped and they go, what? Oh boy, you people are in deep. And then all of a sudden, their activity, their presence starts escalating and escalating. And as I said, the fundamental activities of ETs, without getting into other stuff, which we know about, is connected to the crisis created by the invention of the atom bomb and what we did thereafter. And so they are dealing with us in crisis. But the question what we can't answer yet is, to what extent, how far will they go? And the sense I get is we are doing some things, but you would be mistaken to think that, oh no, we'll just take care of it. Right? We'll fix it. At some point when it's gone too far, we're going to step in and fix it. I don't think so.
No,
I don't think so.
They're not going to intervene. What they are doing, I have always said that we, the experiencers, the contactees, the hybrids, the members of the galactic family that function as emissaries and conduits here on this planet, are getting the messages that are creating the forward momentum in terms of our evolution of consciousness. And the messages that we are imparting are messages of peace and hope and love, not intervention, because they cannot save us from ourselves. And there is a very good chance that millions and millions more people will die on this planet needlessly because of greed and fear and loathing of each other's religions and all the other bullshit that's been going on since time immemorial. And they can't fix us. We have to do it.
This is Danny's fundamental message, which I've always been saying.
Sorry, I get a little.
Your disclosure is the worldview change that has to happen, because worldview is how you change human behavior.
Right.
Every major activist movement is about worldview change. If enough people's worldview, whether it's about race, whether it's about women, whether it's about, eating meat, whatever, the point is that when their worldview changes, they're allowed to then change their behavior. Or you can force them, but generally that doesn't work. And so this will be the biggest worldview change in history. Absolutely. And we calculate that it opens the doors for dramatic behavioral change. Okay, good. They can't change our worldview. Now, they can stop the nukes. They can turn them off before they ever hit the ground. They could do that. Yeah. They could melt them down tomorrow.
Yeah.
But I can't see it. In other words, we can't risk it, right? We can't risk it.
I understand your point. Yeah.
And their attitude may be that, the universe is very old and it's got a lot of time left, and your planet's not going away. You may disrupt life on this planet, but this planet has lost trillions of species over the last billions of years. It's lost species. It can lose more. It's still going to be here. Yeah. I don't know how long their lifespan is, but their attitude could easily be, look, if you can't get there this time, after this mess is done, and you're pared back and having to suffer for generations in a post-nuclear apocalypse, when you rebuild, your worldview might get changed from that experience. And the next time around, you'll get it right.
Right.
Time is long, and we're good, right? And so they may not believe that somehow there is an imperative, a universal imperative. We got to get it right now. They are seeing and helping us get there.
Right.
But if we absolutely cannot get there, I am thinking that their protocols are okay next time around. Unless someone can persuade me otherwise, I've got to be there. Plus, to assume that they would save us at the end is simply a perfect excuse to sit and do nothing.
That's exactly right.
Do nothing.
It's their responsibility. Even if they were the ones that created us, it's still not their responsibility.
Yes, an interesting point you made. I am a fan of genetic intervention. I think they
I know.
I'm not saying hybrids necessarily, but I mean, they create hybrids, but I mean that I think that they genetically manipulated a Homo species in order to generate an intelligent line.
Right.
And therefore, and I don't know how they did it. I'm not saying it involves alien DNA. I'm simply saying we do it now and they did it. In which case, and understand this would have happened many hundreds of thousands of years ago.
Yeah.
That we got a vested interest here.
Yes, they do.
We did something pretty cool. We gave your planet that.
They love us.
I hope so.
I promise you, as your friend, as everyone who's watching this show right now knows me and my heart, I would rather swallow my tongue whole than lie about this.
Of course not.
They love us. They are not a threat to us. We are the threat to us.
Absolutely.
That's right.
I just want to say we're running out of time. Steve, you got to come back.
Yes, Steve.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, give me about 2 weeks.
Okay, yes.
And I will have more than enough to say. There's a lot's going to happen.
I just want to mention this, what you were both discussing. As far as the nuclear aspect is concerned, where we were developing and testing the nuclear bomb, maybe that's why they're so interested, because maybe we disrupted their time and space.
We did, because there are multiple dimensions. And when we damage something on this planet, we are doing damage someplace else in the universe simultaneously.
And that's why they would say, we can shut you down if we want to.
And they can't.
I'm a physics guy, you know. I didn't have a career, but I learned that it's possible. Every second, some umpteen thousand nuclear explosions occur in our sun. So the idea of explosions affecting other things, I'm not of that mind.
But what if they're traveling here and during their travels here on Earth that we disrupted something when they were appearing or here? Do you know what I mean? Even the Roswell incident. Who knows? What was it? Lightning? What actually happened?
I don't think that they were kamikaze pilots. I don't.
You know what I mean?
Themselves
we don't
to
know.
leave their bodies behind.
This is the conversation for.
Okay, we're going to do this again because
if we go in that rabbit hole, we're never getting out.
I know it. Steve Bassett,
Thanks,
I
folks.
love you. You are a wonderful human being and such a generous soul. Thank you for this time tonight. We will have you back in 2 weeks. Bill,
Paradigm.
have a tranquilizer or a cocktail, honey. I'm telling you, I'm having a hot flash. I got to go outside and cool my body down.
Take care of yourself, Andrea.
For those watching, make sure you check out Stephen Bassett's website. Paradigm.
Yes, it's phenomenal. Paradigm.
And it's about to change. It's about to change into a think tank, but it's still kind of cool. But once I change it, I'm going to go full nonprofit and see if I can get back in the game, do some projects. I don't need millions like Danny. 30, 40,000. I'm rocking, man.
I hear you. Rocking it. Hey, you know what? You come back on this show and we'll help make that happen.
Thanks, dear. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Goodbye to you and goodbye to your little doggy. I see him back there.
It's just Peanut. I don't know where. There she is. I can't touch them because I'm radioactive. Do you know how hard that is?
Sorry.
Oh, anyway, thank you. They're all right. They'll be fine.
Good night, Ad Astra.
Thank you.
Good night.
Ad Astra. Good night.